Hi, I'm Sandy. Welcome to the final lesson, part 5 of learning to play the ukulele. This session will teach you how to fret the ukulele. Fretting, put together with strumming that you learned in the last lesson, are the two components to playing the ukulele. So you should be up and running. And then when you're ready, go to part 6 that has some play-along songs for you to practice too. Enjoy! When you first start, what you want to do is practice holding it and strumming it. As we talked about, this is the strings and this is the headstock, and down here is the body. So you hold it with your left hand where it can finger the strings. The headstock is in your left hand. On your right hand, you just get in some comfortable position. I just kind of hold it against my body with my forearm here. And then this hand is free to fret the strings. When I press the strings in order to play a particular note, I am fretting the strings. That's what it's called. Let me tell you a little bit about the guitar. Let me tell you a little bit about the ukulele. So first off, there's strings coming down this way. Each one of the strings is crossed by these little fret markers here. The fret markers are little raised pieces. And actually what they're for is to show you where to place your finger in order to make a particular note. And as you go up the ukulele or any stringed instrument, if you play this bottom string, the string that's furthest from your chin, which is the A, if you play the A string and pluck it open, that means you're not pressing any frets. It sounds like that. If you press your one finger on the very first fret on the very first string, it raises in tone, which is actually a half. As you go up and you press the fret, it raises in tone. That's true with all of the strings. So, what you need to do in order to play the ukulele or any stringed instrument is to know where to place your fingers on the frets in order to make a particular note. And a combination of notes is called a chord. So that's what we're going to be playing to sing along with our favorite songs here, are the chords, not the individual notes. You could certainly learn the individual notes later on, but at this point, we're just going to go the simple version. With this particular song, which will fit with many other songs, we're going to play the song in the key of C. So we're going to play the chord of C, we're going to play the chord of F, and we're going to play the chord of G7, which if you have difficulty playing the G7, you could substitute the G, which is a cousin. So in the key of C, there's a lot of songs that you can play in the key of C, or you can transpose songs to be in the key of C, so that you could play really a lot of songs with just those three chords. Particularly simple songs, but it'll get you started. In our little cheat sheet, it shows you the illustrations and it counts your fingers. So the index finger is number 1, the middle finger is number 2, the ring finger is number 3, and the pinky is number 4. So this is our chord fingering chart for C, F, G, or G7. They're slightly different, as you can see, they're cousins, but we'll talk about that later. For the C, we're going to use the index finger, number 1. It's going to be placed on the 3rd fret, like the illustration shows. For the F, we're going to be using the 1st and the 2nd fingers, the index finger and the middle finger. The G is going to use fingers 1, 2, 3, and the G7, slightly different, is going to be used 1, 2, 3. And we'll talk more about that later. Okay. So in this instance, we're going to take the index finger, number 1, we're going to place it on the 1st fret on the 1st string, and we're going to move it up to the 3rd fret. So 1, 2, 3. Now if we take that and this is called fretting, so we're pushing it down so it sounds that particular note. So when I strum all the strings together, I'm making a C chord, which is a blending of notes that will make a particular chord that makes the sound of a C chord. If I played somewhere else, you see that's not sounding like a C chord. That's a C chord. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and the first string, that's the only one at this particular point that you fret in order to make the C chord, but you strum all of them. Now the next one that we're going to learn, I'll show you all of them, and then we'll work on the song together. The next one is the G7. So if you take your index finger, you place it on the second string from the bottom and on the first fret. You take the other two fingers other than your pinky, and you place them on the second fret on the third string and the second fret on the first string. So you've made this little bug, this little spider here. All right, you're going to make this little shape. You're going to find that your fingers somehow at first don't cooperate very well. They just don't want to do that. But there's a couple things that help you. One is if you take your fingers off and put them right back. Take your fingers off, just take your time and put them right back. Take them off, put them right back. And pretty soon you'll find that you'll get this muscle memory and it becomes much easier, because eventually you will have to get to the point, or you will want to get to the point where you can hit the G chord quite quickly. A couple things to know now about fretting is that when you're fretting, particularly it becomes important when you're fretting this many frets at once, or this many strings at once. You have to be careful when you're fretting not to push the neighboring string. If you push the neighboring string or even touch it, you see what I'm doing to it by barely touching it? I'm making it go completely flat and ugly. So you don't want to touch the neighboring string. You don't want to put your finger on top of the fret itself. You want to go just behind the fret. It sounds much clearer. You don't want to go way back. You want to go as close as you can. And you don't want to press it too lightly, because that again just deadens it. You want to push it hard enough to get a nice clear sound out of it. Also, ladies and gentlemen, you will probably find that it will be much easier if you keep your fingernails short. I have seen people play with long fingernails, but I honestly don't know how they can accomplish that. So keep them short, because I find that when my fingernails get even just a little bit longer than this, then I'm always touching the string next door, which I don't want to do. Ick. We're going to leave our finger where it was on the G chord at the second string on the first fret. So just like so. Then we're going to take our middle finger and put it up on the second fret on the string that's closest to us, which is the fourth string. I have big fingers, so I have a tendency to, this fatty part of my finger here has a tendency to touch the string down below. So again, I have to be sure that my fingers are standing straight up and pushing down with just the tip of my finger in order to get a nice clear sound out of the F. So that's the F. I can get to the G7 with leaving that finger where it is and just rotating these two around, and then I can play the C this way. That's actually a key that you need to learn, or that you will find works really well when you're playing an instrument, any stringed instrument, is to play the cousin chords or the close by chords that are coming next in the song progression. If you can find a way to transition from one to the other with making minimum of movements, then you're in better shape, because of course you can move them faster. So if I'm playing the F and I'm going to go to the G7, I go like so. And if I'm going to go to the C, which is maybe next in my music, then instead of picking up my hands and moving it to the C like so with my index finger, I just slide this finger down and play it like that with my ring finger. It sounds the same, it's nice and clean, and it I can go from one to the other easier. But if you're just playing the C by itself and you just want to make some noise, it's certainly easier at first to play with your index finger. Your index finger is used to doing things independently. And the other one's kind of like, oh, I don't want to be by myself. So it doesn't want to, you know, finger a fret on its own without, I don't know, just feels lonely or something. Chord G, which is the cousin to the G7, is just an inverted chord. So you press down at the third string at the second fret, the first string at the second fret, and then you play the second string at the third fret. So you can see that I'm just inverting that from that to that. But when I invert it, so I have to move all of my fingers in order to go from the G to the G7. But in this instance, you don't have to go from one to the other. But if one of them is much easier for you to fret at this point in your playing, then go ahead and use whichever one is easiest. Ow! Are your fingers getting sore? That's normal, but you'll soon get calluses on the tips of your fingers, and that'll make it better. Let's try this with the song. We're going to be working on She'll Be Coming Round the Mountain. This is a very simple piece of music. It's just the words and chord names. Notice that the chord names appear over certain words. So you play the previous chord until you see the word coming up with a new chord over it. At that time, you change to the new chord through the whole song. That's it. Another thing I wanted to mention too. Many songs start out with a couple of words prior to their starting the full measures of a song. So in this instance, the two words "she'll be" start out before you start counting the 1, 2, 3, 4s. So it goes like this. And heaven forbid I'm going to sing for you, and you'll find out soon that I'm not a singer. But nevertheless, that shows you that we can all have fun. She'll be C, coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain when she... Now we change to the G. Comes. She'll be... Back to the C. Coming round the mountain. She'll be the F. Coming round the mountain. She'll be C. Coming round the mountain. G. When she C comes. So that's the whole song. Play it as slow as you need to get where you can play it smoothly. All right, let's play it without me calling out the chords this time, a little bit faster. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. She'll be coming round the mountain when she... She'll be coming round the mountain. She'll be coming round the mountain. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. Okay. Hopefully this will just get you started on a long, long journey where you can enjoy it. Sing-alongs, play-alongs, find some other friends that are playing, go join them, and have fun. Thanks. Bye.